All right, Jennifer, I'm ready when you are.
Recording in progress.
All right, it being on or about 6:30 on September 23rd, 2024, I call the meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board and commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. The meeting is also being broadcast and recorded by ECAT. Let's begin with a roll call vote.
Benson, present.
Carol, present.
Spady, present.
Vecchio, present.
All right, beginning with tonight's agenda, hearings and possible deliberations. Let's begin with 11 Fieldcrest, which is a request for determination of applicability for the installation of a septic system.
Good evening. You guys hear me? See me all right?
We can hear you. We can see you. Thank you.
And the plan should be coming up right now. Is that working?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing the homeowner for this one. As mentioned, this is an RDA for the repair of a failed 4-bedroom septic system. This is at the end of Fieldcrest Circle, which is a cul-de-sac. And to the back of the property, there's a potential vernal pool, as well as a narrow strip that extends up from the road for the road drainage that is subsurface until it gets into our property, and then comes out at flag 1, MHW 1 through 6, mark the mean high water line associated with the drainage ditch. Cutting through the middle of the site is the 100-foot potential vernal pool resource, and the buffer for that cuts through the middle of the front yard. What do we got going? So the proposal is to replace the existing septic tank out front and excavate and replace the existing leaching field, which is currently flow diffusers in the front yard. This is an existing previously disturbed area. No grade changes. All the site access, everything's limited to the front yard. Stockpiling areas are outside the 100-foot buffers. We do have erosion control or sedimentation control shown to the north, basically protecting down gradient of any flow towards the easement itself. Any questions from the commission on this one? Pretty straightforward. Again, a repair on a failed system.
Yeah. I think some of the feedback you got, and I just haven't seen enough of the plan to see if it's been revised, but is there a professional land surveyor stamp on here?
Yes, there is.
Very good. I also am seeing some notes about some small piles of lawn debris near the wetland.
Yeah, I know. We added note number 8, just calling out the lawn debris near the wetlands to be removed by hand specifically.
Okay. I think that's all I had for questions here. Staff comment?
Peter, this is just under the bylaw, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. No other questions for me?
Any other members of the commission? Any members of the public here tonight to discuss 11 Fieldcrest Circle? All right, seeing none, Peter, I assume you'd like to close.
Yes, please.
Motion to close the public hearing for 11 Fieldcrest Circle.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Motion to issue a negative determination of applicability, noting a -2 under the bylaw only.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, guys.
So moving on to our next order of business, continued hearings and possible deliberations. First up is 557 Foundry Street, which is a notice of intent for redevelopment of Swifts Park. I think if I recall, we were waiting on a DEP file number here.
Correct. We did receive that. It's 152-1821.
Okay. Is anyone here for this?
I don't see Stephanie. I don't think there's an engineer here.
As I recall, I think that was the last piece we were waiting for, and we've discussed the project as a board.
Yeah, we have the revised plan with the surveyor stamp on it now, and we'll
Okay.
condition just changing around the plant species.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and is anyone here to offer public comment on 557 Foundry Street? All right, seeing none, motion to close the public hearing for 557 Foundry Street.
Vecchio second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Beatty, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Motion to issue an order of conditions and permit for work for 557 Foundry Street.
Vecchio second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Beatty, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Up next is 632, 646, 666 Washington Street. This is a notice of intent for the installation of sewer lines. I believe this applicant has requested a continuance to the next meeting.
Correct.
So the next meeting is 10/7. If anyone here has public comment with respect to this project, which has been ongoing for a little while, please let us know. All right, seeing none, motion to continue 632, 646, and 666 Washington Street. I said that as though it's three projects. It's one project. To the October 7th meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Beatty, second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Beatty, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Up next is the Washington Street, Dickerman Road to Elm Street, Mass DOT Highway Project. Also on as a notice of intent. And to my understanding, this applicant has additionally requested to be moved to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission. I will ask again, is anyone here to give public comment regarding Washington Street, Dickerman Road to Elm Street? All right, again, seeing no one. Motion to move the Washington Street, Dickerman Road to Elm Street, Mass DOT Notice of Intent Project to the October 7th meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Beatty, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Up next is 524 Depot Street, Notice of Intent for Public Safety and Public Works Facility.
Greg, is Walter coming up too?
I'm not sure. It may be Chris, actually. Chris Urbano or Mitch Miller.
Okay.
Walter is still on paternity leave, I believe. So thank you all.
Got everyone.
Yeah, there's Chris. So thank you all. Here again on behalf of the town, Greg Giant with Castle Booze. With us tonight, Eric Royce from our office, the landscape architect, Elena Compter, the civil engineer, and Devin Hendrick, the permitting and wetland specialist. Also with us, Chris Urbano, representing the OPM. And I hear Walter is actually here, Jennifer, so he's probably in the public side. So again, coming back to present 524 Depot Street, and give you an overview of the comments and responses to comments from both Jennifer and the peer reviewer. So with that, I'll turn it over to Devin and Elena to go through kind of the update on the project.
Elena, you want to take it first to go through updates?
Sure. So we have resubmitted our plans last Friday, and there was a very speedy review by Eric, and we actually received his comments earlier today. I did glance through them. It does appear that we have addressed a large portion of them. There are still some, I think, mostly housekeeping issues. I don't think that there is anything really, drastic or design related. It's just, still miscoordination between maybe HydroCAD report and plans, but I'm happy to go through all the comments, whether or not Eric said that he was satisfied, or if you just want to go through some of the comments that still had a follow-up comment, it's up to you. And then just outside of that, to give you a little bit history of why it took us so long to resubmit is after previous meeting and the first set of comments by Eric, we went back out to the site to do some additional testing. We did some test pits in the areas of detention basins and infiltration basins that previously were not test pitted, because those locations also were revised from original design plans. And we did do some infiltration testing. We did 4 separate tests in 3 locations. So one of them we did twice in the same location. First, a little bit higher in the receiving layer of the soil, and that's the kind of soil that we expect to receive the runoff. I think that there was not really disagreement that that soil was reasonable, and the infiltration rate that we assumed for that was okay. I think the question that was brought up is that this particular soil was underlaid by a more restrictive soil. So we have done 1 infiltration test in a receiving layer and 1 couple of feet below in a restrictive layer. So as expected, I think the infiltration rate that was in the receiving layer of the soil was in line with our infiltration rate that we assumed in the design, a little bit higher actually, which is good news. But the infiltration rate in a restrictive layer was a lot slower. But I think that level of that restrictive layer generally is approximately the same as the high groundwater elevation. So even though it is restrictive, the water normally, if the groundwater is high, it wouldn't really go into that layer in general. I think there are some instances that we might have to over excavate few inches of that soil just to give us the minimum separation, like at least 2 feet from, of the good soil to infiltrate through. But I think that we generally were able to demonstrate that the assumptions we made in design will work. And if Eric wants to jump in and kind of give his quick assessment.
Yeah, I'd be glad to, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, everyone. Just for the record, Eric Dias, registered professional engineer, Strong Point Engineering. I agree with Elena's comments. Most, if not all, of the remaining items are really housekeeping things, just dotting I's and crossing T's. Things that are really not going to have significant impact on the stormwater design. With regard to the infiltration rates that she was discussing, that was our biggest concern. And we were very glad that they did get back out there and choose to do those tests. What they essentially did is use the restrictive layer almost as liken it to almost bedrock. So they made sure that they designed this so that it was 2 feet above that in the worst case scenario, including a mounding analysis, and the mounding analysis show that the system stay dry in a 100-year storm event, meaning the stormwater doesn't mound up into them and rob them of capacity, which is something that we were also previously concerned with. So basically, when groundwater's high, that layer is going to act like ledge, and we're going to have lateral disbursement through the layer of soil before that. And when groundwater is low, it'll be an added benefit. We'll get a little bit more infiltration vertically out of that layer, but it is acceptable under the regulation. And as a practical matter, I think it's going to work out pretty well with minimal change to the site. We did recommend in our letter just some potential conditions of approval for when that time comes. Most notable to this subject is that a agent of the town of Easton should be on site to witness the removal of material that Elena was referring to. And we also recommend that, excuse me, to slip my mind, that any material used to backfill that area beneath the system, the gradation reports be provided to the town beforehand, and it also be certified as non-hazardous and free of any deleterious materials. So I think we're on a very good track with the stormwater, just housekeeping, really.
So are we talking about removing additional soil as a result of new information
Yes.
learned from the test beds?
Yeah, so what there is in some of their test pits, they'll show, for example, the groundwater elevation may be 40 inches below grade, but this restrictive layer may be, say, 36 inches below grade. So what their plan is saying is, let's get at least that 4-inch separation of restrictive stuff completely out of the way so that we have a clear path to the high groundwater table, and there's nothing there kind of standing in our way of that.
Okay, so to rephrase what I think you just said, to make sure that I understand it. So we're removing a section of less than ideal material to the point where we're at the high water line, and then replacing that material with a more satisfactory material that'll drain better.
That's exactly it, because we can control the characteristics of that material that we replace it with to make sure it drains appropriately.
And monitoring is appropriate there because we have concerns as to what the material may be.
Monitoring more so just to make sure that we're all in agreement with the final excavation. That there's somebody there, you know, on behalf of the town. Not that no one's capable of doing it, just, you know, checks and balances is always a good thing. Just to make sure that we're all in agreement that the unsuitable, quote unquote, material has been removed satisfactorily. There's no surprises as far as groundwater elevations or anything silly like that. And we're all on the same page.
And the size and texture of the new material would also be reviewed to make sure it's what they're proposing to put in there as well.
That's right.
I think that will also account for, you know, variability of the area of infiltration, because, you know, we're basing this on just a few test pits, you know, within each basin, but they are pretty sizable in area. So to have an engineer there observing it would be, you know, beneficial to make sure that if some areas that we didn't test pit that show slightly variability, then that will be addressed in the field.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we're extremely close. Did you have any more things to add, Elena?
No, I guess I just want to ask if you guys want me to go through the comments or how we should proceed.
I think it's just the main points versus going through the whole letter.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I think you got most of those right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the biggest actual design related comment or concern.
Yeah. And so we've only been talking about stormwater lately. So we just asked Devin to recap the waiver requests. So we could hear them again. You know, like they said, all the material came in on Friday. That was actually after hours, and I was in Glacier anyway. So, you know, not having a chance to review them today. You know, we're hoping that we'll continue to the next meeting, and at that meeting we'll have draft conditions for everyone to review ahead of time, and should be able to close at that meeting is my anticipation.
Perfect.
If I may, I can go through a couple of those items. I also have just a review of the impacts to the wetland resources, because I know it's been a minute since we've seen those impact numbers, so I thought it might be nice to just do a quick refresh on what we're looking at for this project. I'm hoping everyone might be able to see my screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So let's see if I can manage this. There we go. All right. So I believe everyone is familiar with the project team. So just as a refresher for everyone, we're looking at a site that is only a portion of a much larger lot. So the approximate site here is shown here in red. The wetlands are not perfectly shown because this is what came off of the Mass DEP layer. But just as a reminder for folks, the wetlands end up crossing this access road in two places. And then on this southernmost crossing, there's an intermittent stream that goes through as well, which is resulting in a good chunk of our impacts. So let's see, it would have been 2 meetings ago, I believe, we submitted some updates to some of the wetland resource areas. So as a refresher, we're looking at some temporary impacts associated with some proposed debris removal. There's quite a bit of trash that was left out on this site from some of the previous activities. So this project does propose to remove a good portion of that, including 3,545 square feet within the BVW, which we are calling temporary impact. We had also submitted a restoration plan to go along with this. We also have the temporary matting for equipment access to allow for that bridge construction, and that's in that location of 2 crossings for that access road. The temporary mats were increased to be 12 feet in width, which resulted in 966 square feet of temporary impact to BVW, 256 square feet of temporary impact to land underwater, and 24 linear feet of temporary impact to bank. Here's a table just giving a summary. In total, we would be looking at 4,511 square feet of impact to BVW, 24 linear feet of impact to bank, and 256 square feet of impact to land underwater bodies. Here's that trash mitigation plan for anyone who may be interested. Just as a reminder, it's kind of in patchy areas located throughout the site, but portions of that fall within the wetland, other portions fall within the buffer zone, extending up into the area of proposed development. I do also have here our list of all of the waivers to performance standards that we had sought. So if we look here, let me see if I can make this a little bigger, because I'm realizing that's probably quite small on your screen. All right. So starting at the top, we have a request for a waiver for activities or work that will result in the altering of a vernal pool or land within the buffer zone of any vernal pool. We have a request for a waiver to allow alteration in the buffer zone of the vernal pool. I guess this just C1 and C2, so we submitted waivers for both of those as memory is serving. And again, we also have C3, also associated with the vernal pool, within the area of critical environmental concern, where you're adding that additional 100 feet of jurisdiction. We have the waiver for 15A3 for the application of new pavement or other impervious within the bank, or the additional 100-foot buffer to the bank. 16C, activity or work other than maintenance, altering of a vegetated wetland or land within 50 feet of any vegetated wetland. We have 16C3, which is that additional 100 feet of jurisdiction on the outer boundary for the ACEC once again. 17C1, that is land within 50 feet of land underwater bodies or altering land underwater bodies. 17C3, that additional 100-foot jurisdiction on the ACEC to the outer buffer zone for land underwater bodies. 19C1B, the inner 50 feet of a buffer zone. And 20B1B, where the riverfront area is within an ACEC. You do not allow application of new pavement or impervious materials, which we would be requesting a waiver to. I think that is all of them that we had requested a waiver to, but certainly open to discussing, especially if we missed one that we perhaps should have listed here.
Could you articulate the proposed public benefit?
Absolutely. So in this case, the proposed public benefit stems from the use of the proposed projects. We have that proposed DPW facility and the Public Works building, which will serve to serve the community of Easton. As of right now, the existing buildings are not able to meet the needs for the infrastructure for the town of Easton. So we're hoping that this proposed project will be much needed infrastructure for the town.
I would add, Ben, that this project does clean up about 22 tons of debris that are out on site, encompassing an area of about 50,000 square feet. I think we have more exact numbers in the presentations that were put up, but I know you've been out to the site, and I know others on the commission have. There's a pretty significant layer of refuse out on the site from the previous land use, most of which is contained in about the first foot of I'd say soil, but it's not really soil. It's plastic bags and bottles and things like that. The town will be cleaning up the majority of that, or all of that that is in proximity to the project here. We haven't explored the whole 150 acres that is the parcel, but pretty much there's an area that we've demonstrated on the plans that have that. That is often in the buffer or in the wetlands in some cases, and inevitably contributes to ongoing pollution as it kind of disintegrates and turns into mostly microplastic at this point, I think. So there's a pretty considerable benefit there, given that those things are in close proximity to a number of vernal pools. So
Thank you.
I'll add a couple more. Certification of the vernal pools. There's at least 3 that information has been submitted. The ongoing protection of the surrounding forested area, because they're only allowed to develop a portion of the site. All the rest of that area is permanently protected. And even though they're required to do it, the meeting the stream crossing standards so that the banks of the stream and the wetland areas are also protected and wildlife can freely pass underneath the proposed road.
Very good. Is there anything else that we should discuss here tonight?
Not tonight, until we finish reviewing the rest of the information that was submitted.
So I'm just, before we do a motion to continue, I'm just going to briefly open for public comment.
Yep.
If anybody's here to talk about 524 Depot Street, please raise your hand on Zoom. All right, seeing no one. Does 10-7 work?
It's mostly for me, yes.
Yeah, it works for everybody.
It works for us. If it works for you, Jennifer, we can certainly put the final responses together and have that in next week.
That would be great. I'd love to have the final plans with the date on it ready to go so I can add that to the order of conditions. Also want to make sure the commission has time to review the draft order of conditions before you close. And we expect that to happen at the next meeting. Again, you wouldn't be losing any time even if you close tonight. They don't have a permit to review, so you'd be waiting till the next meeting anyway. And you sort of run the risk of, as I'm going through all the information and writing the permit, if there's something we missed, you wouldn't be able to submit it because we would have closed the hearing. So you're not losing any time. We'll have conditions ready for the next meeting, and we usually issue within 1 or 2 days. So.
Yeah, there's no issue on the project side with that. I think that's good for us, and we look forward to the next hearing.
Very good. Motion to continue 524 Depot Street to the October 7th meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Benson second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you all
Thank
for
you
your
all.
time.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to certificates of compliance. First up is 8 Benjamin Drive. Request for a certificate of compliance for a septic system. It's my understanding this applicant has requested a continuance to the next meeting. Any
Correct.
board discussion about this?
Not 9, Benjamin. You said 8.
Oh, I apologize. 8
No worries.
Benjamin Drive.
Other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, motion to continue 9 Benjamin Drive to the October 7th meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Spady, a second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Up next is certificate of compliance request 39 Black Book. I'm winning tonight, Mike. 39 Black Brook Road. Request for certificate of compliance for a septic system.
It's ready for a full COC.
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 39 Black Book Road. I did it again. Black Brook Road.
Monday.
It's a
In
Monday. Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Bill, we couldn't hear you, but judging by the nod, yeah, it passes. So up next is enforcement. First order is 109 Rockland Street.
I did receive the email. I'm sorry, but I did receive the email that the homeowner has said they have removed the fill from the wetland that was not communicated earlier. So I will plan to do an inspection with the property owner.
Should we take any action at this time around the fines that we issued?
Nope, you don't need to assess them. You
Okay.
issued the fine. If they have in fact removed the fill, then you don't have to actually require the fine to be paid.
Very good.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have in fact removed the fill. Up next is 24 Summer Street.
They are still working on their permit application. They had, I think it's the same list as before the last meeting, but I expect that they would be working on it.
Have you been in contact?
I was in Glacier.
Yeah. Yeah, quick turnaround. All right, so
Well, there is a hand raised. Do you want me to promote?
yeah, sorry, I was just trying to see
Yep.
if I could.
I'm here. Hey guys,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, you?
Good. So I had actually updated the butters to the 300 feet. It added a lot more people, so I have a lot more certified letters. I did send it. It was a JPEG. I know you said that you can't see those on permit eyes, so we did go back and it's PDF now. So it should be visible. I sent them all out last week, and everybody. My neighbor actually texted me this morning that he received it. So hopefully everybody's gotten them already.
Okay.
Okay, and the rest of the list, though, there was more than just the abutters.
So I had, what else did I have on there that I still had? Because I know we converted originally.
Bring it with me.
Okay, my apologies. I do have a copy of it, but I just don't have, unfortunately, it right in front of me right now.
Okay.
Okay.
You just want to make sure you're going through that revised list that I gave you, right? Because there, before I left for vacation, it says, "Yep, this was done. This is to be done." Done.
Yeah, I did get it. Yeah, I did get it. So I still do have a couple things that have to be completely done, but I just wanted to let you know that I did update that certified letter list. So some of that has been taken care of since then.
Okay. Keep working on it. You're close.
Will do.
Just
Thanks, guys.
before you jump off, would you just state your name and location for the record? I apologize. I
Steve-
should have had you do it at the front end.
Yeah, my apologies. I don't know. It's my wife's name. Steve Quigley, 24 Summer Street.
Thank you.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Up next is 20 Central Street.
They are just about done with their
Good.
restoration work and ready for an inspection, I believe this week. They came in to get the markers today, just to finalize the locations. It will have been planted, and then we'll get the restoration report from the wildlife, the wetland professional, and then there'll be another evaluation in the spring and then again next fall.
Closing out the entire enforcement section is within striking distance.
I mean, this list, which is good. Yeah.
Board discussion. So first up is NRT Harvest Fair.
That's scheduled for October 6th from 10 to 2. Nate had said that he would host the table. He's not here tonight, so you may want to check in with him and see and have a backup plan.
Yeah. I can reach out to Nate.
Okay. I cannot be there. Not leading a trip to New York.
Project list.
I didn't have anything to add at this time.
Okay. Al, do you have a chance to review minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the August 26 minutes as amended.
Second.
Carol second.
Nope,
Oh, Mike got it. So Benson motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
I have no updates this week. Jennifer, do you have CPC updates?
I would defer those to Al. Do you have any updates you want to let us know about?
No, we're in pretty good shape on getting the items before the CPC and get them, let's say, reviewed, looked at before the time runs out.
Good.
Yeah. My updates are just that we met with CPC 2 weeks ago. Everything
No major
is
issues.
requested to move forward with the draft applications. We received the pond
Jennifer did a good
evaluation
job.
today. Oh, thanks, Al. We received the pond evaluation today for new and old ponds, so I'll be able to read those tomorrow or Wednesday and finish up that application. I'm still waiting for the appraisal for Arlene Keach's property. And there is a grant deadline for this Friday for the Forest Legacy Program. So I'll be applying for that. It's a 50% reimbursement grant. So I need the amount from the appraiser to put in there. Yeah, but those are my updates.
Great. And then finally, any pertinent item not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Vecchio, second.
Carol motion, Vecchio second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Vecchio, aye.
Thank you,
Your
everybody.
time.
Yeah, we flew through that one.